and the opportunities that I had, there were 7 times we planned to go out, 7 times it blew up 20, 30 knots, so 7 times I didn't get out there. I brought the boat back 2 weeks ago. So it sat there for 6 months, didn't get out. So weather's a big opportunity, and most of our customers that do the reef trips up north, especially around the Bunker Group or up to Airlie, when there's a window, they just go. It's as simple as that. If you plan, it never works. So you've got to be prepared, have your grab bag ready, and off you go once the weather looks like a 3-day window. If you're there on a 2-week holiday, maybe you might get out on the opportunity. You might get 5 days of real weather, or 7 days maybe. We've done that twice up at Airlie in the last sort of 3 years, where we've towed a 6 or 7 metre boat up there, and just by luck, the first 2 or 3 days of that window gap was 0 knots, glass out, and we just smashed it. And then other times we could get out. So it depends on the day. So that's the first thing to work out is your weather. When is the best time of the year? Well, obviously you're dodging cyclones at the moment, but I did a trip on this big cat reality last February in the middle of cyclone season. Up to 3 days before we were meant to go, we had it was 48 knots or something, a cyclone coming straight down the coastline at us. And it was like only 2 days before we were meant to go. At that time, it's sort of been canned, and then they said we're going. And just luckily that somehow that cyclone that's come down got sucked out to Vanuatu and they got smashed. And we got a bit of swell off it and a bit of roughness the first day or two. And then it come really good the rest of the week. So if you're doing a charter thing, it's the same deal again. It's luck. Stewie just did a trip up on Big Cat as well. A month ago, Stu, 2 months ago?
Yeah, about a month ago, and it was like horrible going out. We had 30 or 40 knots of wind and 4 metre swell coming off the cyclone again, but or a big low out wide. And then we had 3 or 4 days of total glass head out there by the time we got out there. So it was, yeah. And then horrible weather coming back, so just lucked it out. Good.
Yeah, as long as you get that 3-day window, because when you're reef fishing, sometimes you only need 1 day to bag out. We've done one of the trips we did up to Airlie with towing the boat up, and the first day out, we bagged out on everything pretty well. Coral trout we didn't, but a lot of other species we did, nannies and stuff like that. So the fishing is like off the Richter scale compared to down here. I just wish we had that down here. we'd have a lot more of this stuff in our shop. But yeah, so anyway, we'll run through the gear. So that's just more about the weather side of it, guys. And boat-wise, fuel capacity is your biggest thing. And please remember, the radios don't really work that well. You're too far out. Obviously, you get other boats that may hear you if you're in an emergency. So make sure you got self EPIRBs in as well as an EPIRB on the boat. And also good flares and good fuel capacity. You need to know what your boat will consume in fuel. Because we're running out of Airlie up to 120 k's one way for the day. So we're using it's a 300 litre tank. I think we're using about 220 litres for the trip out with 5 people on the boat. Yeah, so it just is getting logistics all right.
Yeah, the biggest thing is you can't do a lot of that testing, say in the Broadwater and stuff like that, or like offshore here when it's perfect weather. You need to cater for the worst case scenario. So even if you know it's going to be tight and then the weather blows up, you just won't get back. You're just going to burn heaps more. So yeah. Okay,
and make sure your boat's sound. Okay, sounder-wise, doesn't really be that good. You're only fishing 60 metres max, or maybe 80 at the most. So most sounders will do that job all right. Other thing, I'll make sure your boat's got a little bit of depth to it, perhaps, just in case it comes up choppy. You don't want to get too much spray in the boat. Make sure your bilge pump works. Good thing. Okay.
Why go so far? You're talking about.
So
there's got to be a lot of like around a bit Sunday.
There is.
And
there is.
Out past
yeah, 100%. There is, but nothing like the reef. Again, we did find a couple of good spots on the way out as well. Just driving along and hey, look at that on the sounders. Zoom around, go back again, and then drop down while we're on. And off 70 I've had the same deal too, like going out to Lady Musgrave, it's about 58k run from 70 out. And sometimes we've been like 23, not even halfway out, and saw a little dip and dropped down and caught reds and caught pearlies and caught everything. So it's just keep an eye on your sounder. People up there sort of, I guess they're spoilt by the reef to fish, but the deep water fishing is actually what I really like, probably more than fishing the reef sometimes, you know. Casting flats is so good, but fishing the deeper water on the way out is really good if you've got a good sound that can read at 20 knots or whatever. That's so, focus your eyes glued onto the sounder while you're travelling if you can. And you see, and a lot of the time the dip's actually more important than the rises. So if you can find a little dip, which could be a wonky hole or it could be just a gutter that drops down from say 40 metres down to 44 and goes along maybe to 30 metres and comes back up again to 40 metres again. And then you go back around and go down that gutter and just try and see what the fish are along it. And it can be full of everything, you know, Murray, cod and whatever else. Species down here which we say are really good, like a hustler or something, up there they drop down and catch those, I'll just move on to the next spot, you know. Sport, yeah. So our main focus tonight is to show you what gear you need, and then you know about the boat side of it, so that's all good. Fishing wise, we'll talk about the spots a bit later, but the gear to use. So Stu and I both fish very similar up there. One thing we do similar is the reef style, and we have sort of like 3 outfits. So one outfit's like or actually 4 outfits. So first it's like a light spin rod, so talking like 30 to 50 pound braid, 7 foot spin. Stu's got one there that he uses.
Yeah. And
5,000 size reel, and that's the one sort of just like flicking out, sort of like little plastics like so, soft fibing like that sort of thing. I'll pass this around actually while we're doing it.
So the biggest thing is you're fishing plastics that are fairly light and lightweight, and you're using lighter line, and you can they're going to sink a lot slower. So you can maintain a bit more contact. The biggest thing is you're fishing in areas with run, and if you lose contact and stuff like that, and they blow out the back or they wash under the boat, you just get too many snags. You got to fish pretty direct. Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, and like prawn style. So prawns are really good as well, like around that reef flat type area, or like the drop offs, or up to 50 metres, still fine. But we just pull that weedless hook out and put a jig head in it. So yeah.
So light outfit like so, and then the next outfit we'd be using is one just a little bit heavier than that, which would be probably your go-to, which is like an 8,000 size reel, or 6,000 minimum. Rods sort of 30 to 60 pounds sort of thing. And these are venom rods. Venom rods are like, got the venom hat on, but venom rods are, they're expensive, but they're just bang for buck the best. The trip I did up Big Cat was with Wilson and Venom, and there was 16 guys on a boat. They're all bloody YouTube, whatever, influencers is the word they use these days, I think. Oops, sorry, tripped over my tongue. And they all use Venom, and I think we did a 9-day trip, so 7 days of hardcore fishing, or 6.5 days, and I think there was only one rod breakage, and that was just by accident. And those guys try to break the rods, you know. So it was pretty impressive, I thought, for that trip, and that was from little rods to heavy stickbait type rods. So really good. But in saying that, Therese are fine. Even ugly stick, that's what you got, that's fine too. It's more nice in your hand, distance better, feels better as you pay more money, the graphite gets better and whatever else goes with it. In reel wise, look, I'll use them just to sustain, but Stu, what are you using there, mate?
Yeah, so like that's one of mine, so I've got the Stratic on that. So they're just above a Saragossa. They're quite a nice reel. Saragossas are fine as well. They're nice and tough. Yeah, good drag. So yeah, I've got a couple of different reels, but yeah, and that really good.
What we're saying is you don't need to go to a Stella or a Saltiga, but if you want to, that's the best you can get. So it's up to you guys. But those other ones that suffice, they'll do the job fine, and they're less than half the price. So yeah. Rod wise, again, Therese is half the price of a Venom, and yeah, it just depends if you want to go that bit better. But you do need something that's not like a spin fisher, old school cheap spin fisher reel. It may do the job all right, but I doubt it. Not when you get big GT or consistency of lots of fish all day long. I think it'll cark it. A spin fisher, I mean, Slam would be right. And maybe a spin fisher V might be right. The new
Battle or something like that.
A Battle would be right, yeah, that's right. That type of thing. So it needs to be at least that grade to cut the grade.
What's the mounting of the Venom?
That one there's, I think, 20 to 50 20 to 60. Yeah. So they do a 15 to 50, I think, as well, or 20 to 50, but it's just a bit softer on the tip. This is a bit stiffer.
Yeah, so that will
better at pulling fish out of tight spaces.
that'll enable you to cast like that prawn going around, mate. Say with a 3/8 jig head on it, on 5 or 6/0, up to probably a stick bait at least that size. Yeah. Which is probably going to be 50% of your fishing up there. Yeah, so that's the second outfit. And the third outfit, is keep with the spin gear. So we go a bit heavier into like you want to get your big GT pitcher. That's the sort of gear you need. So you're talking like about a 14 to 20,000 size reel, and you're talking around that sort of
PE8 rod.
Yeah, PE6 to 10 rod at 8 or whatever it might be in the rod. The reason being is two things actually. Sharks are a problem up the reef. They're a problem down here too, but they're a problem up there more. So you need to get that fish in before the sharks get it. The more the fish stresses out that water line out there, the more chance the sharks honing in on it. They're very quick. And it doesn't matter if it's a red or if it's a GT, same deal. They like redfish more.
Fishing around the bunker group,
Yep.
with plastics,
Yes,
turning the motor off,
yes,
I hardly have a problem with sharks.
yeah, correct.
Yeah, they listen.
Yeah,
They
listen.
know the noise of a boat.
You're spot on, buddy.
Yeah.
So again, if you fish around the bunker group and the only time you keep the motor going, if you've got a lot of wind, you've got to back up all the time. But if you can, you switch your motor off 100%. Yeah. We'll talk about that sort of fishing a bit later, maybe. So that's your heavy one. And then that's your third rod. And then your fourth rod's jigging rod, like if you want to jig with an overhead. So I use like I've got a couple of outfits. That's a 4,000. But what do you get this, Stu?
Yeah, I got like, this is a little Saltiga, but it's the same size as a 2000 poster jigger. So
Yeah. So the 4 I use that in a bit deeper water. I don't use that in under about 50 metres. I use a 2000. Same reel, just a bit smaller. That's on a Saltus rod, but the Venom rod's again very nice. Stu's got his on
on a Venom.
He's got the flash stuff.
Yeah.
on a Venom rod. And I'm running on that one there P4. On my 2000, I'm running P3, which is about 50 pound, 58 pounds. Braid, again, these days is getting really thin. That's another thing we should talk about in a minute. But just as long as you've got a jig outfit that's that sort of P3 to 5 category, you don't need to go P8 unless you want to go chasing hardcore doggies. I don't think I've got my heavy one here. I've got it's an old Trinidad 30, I think it is. No, 20. 40. 40N.
Be a 40
Yeah, 40N, yeah. Trinidad 40N, which has got a 100-pound braid on it. So if I want to chase doggies or whatever's big reds or whatever's down deep, that's what I'll use as a backup. So when you make the effort of going that far, you need to take a bit of tackle with you. Simple as that. Because it costs money to go there, and you don't want to you can't get tackle out there, so do it right. And if you've got to improvise with something that's a bit cheap just to get out there and try, it's better than having nothing that'll do the job. So take whatever you got with you. Take too much tackle. So it's like that. When we hop on the boat, it's like they're like, oh my God, I'm not going to make room for his ski. Yeah. But and the trouble is, you only use about probably 5% of it. But at least you're prepared to do it right. So that's your sort of outfits. Trolling wise, if you want to troll, you can take a TLD or a Terranos or a Speedmaster, sort of 20 or 30 size. I'd be running Braid on that as well, because it might double up as your bottom fishing reel with bait or whatever. And an 80-pound shock leader, 100-pound shock leader. And but you could use the spin rods. Yeah, the middle spin rod would be fine, or the heavier one. Or the jigging rod would be fine as well to troll with. Like if you want to troll around the outside and catch a mackerel or whatever, they're a dime a dozen up there, really they are. You get other stuff as well, which will drive you crazy, but you also get doggies on the troll, you get GTs on the troll, on hard bodies. Everything takes it. Green jobfish will take it, caught all that on trolling. But we're talking more about casting and jigging today. Yeah, so that's about it in the gear, I think, Stu. Leader-wise, you need 2 size leaders, if not 3. I'd recommend some sort of 50-pound leader in that, I think you got one in your bag there actually, and stuff. So something like that there, in about 50 or 60 pound is a good size. That's your light leader, or in fluorocarbon, either or. And one around about sort of 80 pound to 100, which would be your sort of medium one. And then a heavy one, which you got that in your bag, that's 130, but you can easily tie it. Okay, so you can tie it with a normal uni knot or whatever it might be. You don't need to crimp it, and it will work really fine on those big, and do a loop knot on as well for your big stick baits and poppers and stuff like that. For the big bad boys. I'd use that actually down to even that size lure if you catch a big fish. Again, it's the bait they feed on. If they feed on big fusies or whatever it might be, you've got to match the hatch, right? But if they're chasing little tiny, like little schooled up sort of sprat type things, then you'll probably drop down to something in that size there, you know, quite small. So again, in the lures, there's three sizes of lures too. So that's your three sizes in your leader. So around 50, 80, and 120, 130 shoot.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. On the light one, I use 40. It's just a little bit nicer. 40 fluoro on that, and then the rest I just use mono. So if it's 50 or 60, I just use mono. Don't worry about the fluoro. That's just
yeah, fluoro up to about 50 or 60 is the max. That's what I recommend. It gets too stiff otherwise.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Then your lure categories we'll start on down the bottom end there, little poppers. So the smallest poppers, Stu, you'd use something like that, mate?
Yeah, something like that type of size, about 100, 130 mil. I think the bigger one there's 150 mil-ish, that Ocean Legacy one. But yeah, something around that type of size. Big poppers are very hard to use. They're not hard to use, they're still going to splash, and it's not hard, it's physically hard. You're pulling quite a blunt object. Have you got a big popper, Doug, or not? Yeah, not really.
Oh, that one's
but like
it, yeah.
that's kind of like a medium type size. Like a big popper's got a face on it like that big. It's hard. There's a lot of resistance, like pulling a 10-litre bucket through the water. Just wears you out too fast. Whereas little poppers like that, they still will get similar results, but they're just much easier to use. Yeah.
So when you're casting the poppers, you're like raking it. So you're sort of like looping it. If you watch the old Mel Foran's videos, they're sort of like going hardcore on it, and the poppers all over the joint, and the fish is trying to grab it. It's quite hard. No one sort of does that style anymore these days. And back in those days, the poppers had a little cup on the front and quite a big back side on them, and that's how they used to perform in the water. Now it's all about blooping it and spraying it, and sitting it, and then blooping it again. So, but the whole time you're focusing on watching what's coming up behind it, and working it and working it and working a bit faster, whatever it might be, to get that strike. And as Stewie's saying, if it's too hard to do that, you're too much concentrating on trying to pull it through the water and not watching what's really happening. So you need to get that size popper that's more easier for you not to know that you're actually doing that. You're more just working it and waiting for that fish to hit it. So that's what I find when I'm doing that sort of thing. So I wouldn't use any bigger face than that ping pong Stew, and pass that around, buddy. Yeah, so they're a timber one. Just got to add your own hook. So a lot of the better poppers and stick baits that you can buy don't come with any accessories, as in hooks and rings. You got to buy that yourself. So that's a Japanese stick bait. We'll talk about stick baits a bit later, but again, they don't come with any accessories. So Stu, after that size popper, which we go up to next, mate?
You pretty much go up to this next size up, which is kind of getting bigger.
Yeah.
But if you look at these ones, the face on them is quite small. So they're not too bad to work. They're nice and long. They're skinny. They cast well. We use that Shimano Bubble Dip up there a fair bit. And it's actually a really easy lure to work, and it's really effective. We caught quite a few fish on it, and some good ones like 15, 20 kilo GTs. But they spray well, and they're really easy to cast and work. So that's kind of like, if you want a popper that you can work kind of as easy as a stick bait, that's kind of type of the thing. But yeah, they come with good hooks on them too, the Shimano ones, so you don't have to change anything. The rings are solid as, the hooks are solid. So,
guys, do you want us to show you like a drawing, like how to work each type of lure as we're going through, or do you want us to talk about how to work the lures at the end, which is easier for you? I think we'll do it as we're going along, if that's all right, Stu.
Yeah.
So the little lures that we're talking about, and the small in popper sort of situation, I prefer to use actually stick baits over poppers 90% of the time. I'm very used to it.
Yeah, me too. They're easier.
Yeah, they're easier.
Yeah.
And there's no concentrating on pulling it through the water. They do their own thing. It's just a matter of matching the hatch what they want to feed on, you know. And poppers generally always float, but stick baits have the luxury of getting sinking stick baits. So when you're working the edge of the reef and it's say maybe 2 or 3 metres deep on the edge, and they got like, we've got Stu calls it veins, I call them little gullies. But if you're looking sort of from a bird's eye view down, and this is like the edge of a reef here maybe. It'll be a lot of that sort of stuff happening. So I'll get out of the way in a sec, guys. So there'll be like these little ruts or veins, I call them gullies, that might go in, say, 20 or 30 metres. Has anyone ever been out the reef and seen that before? Yeah, you will. You'll see it. And this edge here might be like 1 metre or 2 metres out of the water, so it might be exposed. And this might be 4 metres deep, and it goes up to the end. And the objective is to sit your boat wherever it might be, around here somewhere, there, and cast right up into that death cast up into the end there, and then work your stick bait where you pop it back out of it. And that's how you get really big trout. And you get obviously other fish as well, but you're talking mainly trout and red throat doing this. I haven't caught many GTs doing that. No.
You might get the odd GT like cruiser flats and stuff, and some of them are pretty big, but most of them are like those school type of fish, which are about that big type of thing.
Yeah,
So
6 to 8 kilos.
Yeah.
What sort of depth are you casting back into there?
About probably at the top end of it, it's still quite deep, maybe 3 or 4 metres. Yeah, that's at low tide, say. Yeah. It's just, yeah, they're a little bit jaggedy on the edges.
they've got undercuts.
Yeah, it might sort of be like underneath like so, if that makes sense. So it's fringed over the top. That's the problem. You don't see it. If you look at them, you may see some fish and they don't look very big until you hook them up. But a lot of the time you can't see them. It's like a fish under a bank or something. They just come out and smash it. Yeah, but it's always trout and red throat. And a lot of people don't throw the line up there because it looks like there's nothing in there. But that is the best. That's the honey holes of the reef, especially at low tide, because all the fish that were up on this flat here dropped into here, or out here on a sunken reef. Yeah. So you'll also get maybe another bit of a rock out here, maybe, you know, like so, and like so, maybe. And, you know, you pull the boat up here, and you might cast up in there first, and then what you miss, the fish may come out and sit on these rocks out here, or there might already be fish there, and you'll cast there and there as well. And maybe come in here a bit closer and do a death cast up the inside here, because they can run either way then, or they can run around the rock. The fish are very, very quick to decide which way they want to go. A bit like jack fishing all the time. It's like jack fishing all the time, is the way I put it. So you've got to pull them out as quick as you can. And most of the time they're like trout up to maybe 70 centimetres, or red throats up to about 50 or 60, quite big ones. And you just got to get them out of that reef pretty quick. I don't know about you, Stu, how do you find that?
Yeah. So you can't give them too much loose line. You've got to be on your lure pretty much straight away. Like sometimes they hit it as soon as it lands, and if you've got loose line and bellies of line stuff hanging around, they're just going to do you before you even know you've got a fish. But yeah, I kind of just cast everywhere, anywhere where you can. Like we fished, the flats that we fished when we were up there, we've done just on a high tide. And
This is low tide.
yeah, we were like, you still fish the same area on a high tide. The fish don't move too much. They do travel, but if there's food and stuff like that, like if that's water getting pushed onto that face, so it's drained off that way and it's going to push on that way, they're not going to move there too much. It's an easy feed for them, so they're going to use that as an ambush point. So you'd fish this edge first and then drift off onto the flat later when it's a bit more full.
Out.
But
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, but I cast over here and caught fish and they swam under there and tried to get them out and didn't get them out and all that stuff. But it's all just part of the parcel. Yeah.
That's probably about as big as I'd use on that area.
Yeah, like I casted a lot of that type of size.
That's a kilo.
120 mil.
Yeah.
They're easy as to use, slow sinking. It's one of those things like, sorry mate. If you want the perfect surface strike and you just want to fish for kind of photos or stuff that you see in your head, just fish surface. You'll obviously get a lot better hit and you'll see it, be more visual. But if you want fish, those sinking stick baits are pretty hard to beat. You can sink them down if something's a little bit deeper, sink them down into that gully or like a ravine in there or around a bommy and work it around the outside edge. And the fish just come from nowhere to smash it. So, yeah.
Most times when you cast up those ravines, the first, on the sink, the first pull you do, you're already on. That's how quick it is in a lot of areas. Okay, so that's the first size lure we're talking about. And stick baits, well, there's all different shapes and sizes and colours and whatever else, and brands, of course. The Venom ones, again, hard to beat. They are really, really good. They do this Iron Man colour, which that's actually about as small as you probably use. Is really, really good. And heaps of different colours that work really good. Nomad do a great range as well, that work really well. Duo, like they love pink colours and orange colours and red colours. That's probably as big a seller as the natural colours, if not more, in lures up north. And then even things like the bongo sort of shape, old bongo shad style, is really good too. Those ones actually work quite differently. Just sort of slow wind, move, slow wind. With the other ones, you're sort of twitching it and then taking the slack up, twitching it, taking the slack up. We did try those up there. They were really good too, Stu.
Yeah.
Did you try those yet?
No, I haven't.
This is a bones lure, a bones lure going around. They're really good too. They've got like a propeller on the back, so they sort of flick out and make the thing dance. When you do the pull, you do a slower pull and sort of waddle through the water, and they get hit on the waddle. Anything he does is a bit out there because he's that type of Asian guy, does one of those crazy casting guys. Yeah. That's all keeping in that smaller size. Bang for buck, like the slides lures from Slide Gold from Halco is probably the cheapest working stick bait you can get. Something like that's around about $20 sort of thing. And they are really, really good for the price. Stu, anything you want to add to that, mate?
Not really. I think like the biggest thing is those lures going around, they're all a little bit dearer, but they come with good quality hooks and rings. You don't have to change them, you just run them straight out the packet. So
yeah, that's the only problem with Halco. The hooks aren't so.
I reckon they're alright.
The single hooks are okay, but the trebles aren't.
Yeah.
What's the sort of main sort of bait fish you're trying to imitate?
Like fusiliers and stuff
fusiliers,
like
mate.
that. Yeah. You get gar out there and like other random stuff as well.
Saris. Yeah. They eat each other out there. Coral trout eat coral trout, and so on. Yeah. Hence that colour there's a real good colour there. It's an ugly looking coral trout, but it works well. Whoever done the Venom colours, they're very different. They're field design colours. Stewie, they do a head dip in that ocean one that you liked before, a different style, mate.
Yep. So I don't know if that's floating, but that's a floating one. But
Okay. You got the flash boost inside. So the flash boost, when you do the twitch and you stop, there's a little shimmer thing inside that reflects light off, ping, 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 like a witch doctor teaser, and that just comes straight in and smack it. It looks like a little bait fish sitting there shimmering. Pretty cool. Then you jump up into your next size, which you probably wouldn't use so much in that scenario before. And this is like this sort of size stick bait, so you're getting a lot bit bigger size. These fellows here are going to be casting maybe up on the flats if there's big GTs running around like Stewie said before.
Yeah.
Or definitely on pressure points, which is I think we'll talk about in a moment. I'll draw a picture on current and stuff like that. So does everyone know about pressure points when you're reef fishing? So when the tides go quiet, then as soon as it swings, starts to come in or go out, whichever it may be, generally come in, you'll get like the current will push on one side on the reef, and it'll be white capped and there'll be mackerel jumping out of water and birds everywhere, and it just goes off. And no matter what you cast in there, it just gets hammered. This is more prevalent up, say, Early Beach Way out from there, or even the islands around Early Beach, and Swains obviously for sure. A little bit happens up at the bunker group as well, but it's more where the currents very, you got reef, a lot of reef, and you have lots of channels in between the reef, so there might be a reef like that, a reef like that, another one over here, and you got like currents that hit everywhere, and they might form a pressure point on one area, where it might be coming across the top here, wherever it might be up on this corner up here, It just depends where it might be, but it's because there's lots of channels in amongst the reef, where if you go to the bunker group, they tend to be not so much close together reef. Does that make sense? There's not many like Swains type reef where it's or reef off Airlie, where you've got just channels between reef everywhere. The bunker groups tends to be a bit wider spread, so a little bit different. So you will get pressure points there, but not as much. So I'll give you an example of a pressure point, how it may look. So you might have a really big, like say Musgrave type big coral cay, and the current's hitting here on this corner, and it's becoming quite rough, and all the way down here, this will be a pressure point, because that's where the current's hitting. And this might be reef that's just starting to go underwater, and then in here you got like these deep holes that might be the size of a tennis court, they might be the size of a football field, generally about the size of a tennis court, a bit bigger. And here might be 1 metre deep, and might be 2 or 3 metres with lumps that come up to about 1 metre from the top. Across here, then this might drop down to around 10 or 15 metres deep in the middle here, and be as big as I said, like an Olympic swimming pool, whatever. And but all those fish that were working there, once that gets up over the edge here, they'll all disappear over these bommies in here or into that hole there. But at the moment, they're all working this pressure point out here. That's where the bait's sitting before it comes in over the reef. And there's everything there in with it. And if you just drift along and cast stick baits or poppers up into the current and bring it back with the current is the best way to do it. And you just don't miss. Yeah. Is that sort of stuff you're fishing? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We haven't had time. I've no time to talk to Stu much since he got back from his trip.
Like if that's going to be a pressure point, like the shape that is there, it's going to obviously probably be from about there to there. That's going to be better.
Right, yeah.
Less of this when it sweeps around the corner. It's going to be hard edges with current pushing onto it. That's the easiest way to look at it. Doesn't have to be the outside, can be the inside. So outside being the swell side or the ocean side more.
Yeah, this is the outside here actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just changing your drawing to make things work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hard reef faces with current pushing onto it. Obviously the fish are going to feed there, because if you look at the way current hits an object, if you like stand off the public pontoon or whatever in the broadwater and look down, if you're standing on the rough side, so where that current's pushing on it, that side's always got the bait on it. It's not hard for a fish to sit on, like in hard pushing water with something behind them. They're just kind of playing there. They put the fins out and they're just playing around, eat whatever goes past. Whereas if they're behind it on the nice flat side, they've got to swim to keep up with it. They kind of playing, they use it, I don't know how you'd explain it, but they kind of just playing with, against that current. It's a lot easier for them. So they don't expel much energy, and it's a good ambush point for them. All the bait's coming to them. So that's why you're fishing that kind of the edge where it's hitting harder. If it was kind of like the lay side where it just generally tapers off into the abyss, into nothing, the fish just kind of cruise around there aimlessly lost. Like they're not schooled there, they're not doing anything there. So
once you get around where that Stu said like glasses out around here, you won't catch much.
no, you'll catch a few here and there, but not the same as up here.
So if I was there, I'd be working it from up here, because my boat's going to drift. I'll probably be out here somewhere, but the boat's going to drift down this way, probably across that way with the current, because the current's hitting there and coming around this edge, and I'd be casting in this sort of direction up that way, and as the boat's coming down here, you cast up in that direction and just keep working it like that sort of thing.
Yeah, you cast onto it and bring it back.
Yeah, onto the edge.
Yeah. But I mean, don't be afraid of putting one out, like a left field one or along the outside here.
Yeah, they're also out here too, and also there might be a big bust up out here, and that's where they are as well.
Yeah.
And the strange part is like we can be, it might be 20 metres deep here, and obviously there's heaps of trout and stuff like that out here, but we've actually caught trout out in like 20 metres or 25 metres deep, 50 metres out from the in amongst the pressure point, but they're feeding out there too.
Yeah,
I've caught a few, not one, like we've caught quite a few, and they're big trout.
Stick baits out there.
Yeah, stick baits, yeah.
Yeah.
And generally sinking stick baits.
Yeah, I got one on a floating stick bait and it was like 70 centimetres out of 30 metres of water.
Yeah, me
Came
too,
up,
lots of
ate
times.
it right off the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw it come from nowhere, up, big brown mass behind
Yeah.
it, looked at it, one sweep, ate it, done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the brown trout are the ones on the reef and the red trout are the ones down deep.
Yeah.
Yes, mate? Great.
Why don't you go and put your boat on top of the reef and cast out?
Doesn't seem to work as good. And it's also, it's shallow, it's hard, and you get taken across the reef too quick.
Yeah, and you won't land them.
Yeah.
Problem is,
you
because
pull
this
them back
is a
into,
hard face, yeah, you're pulling
Yeah.
it in, they'll just swim
Yeah.
straight into it.
although you probably got less chance of getting shark, because the sharks out here are pretty filthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sharks like the pressure points too. It's like a outboard motor sound for them.
Yeah.
They just turn up. Yeah. It just goes off. It's just like, there'd be mackerel come flying on the boat next to you while you've got a GT on or something, yeah, that's really, really good. So, any questions on that at all, guys, on pressure points? Just look for them. You'll see
Yeah.
the birds, you'll see the stirring, you'll see it happening.
Thing is, like, that's obviously an exaggerated one, but you got to think, if you've got a bommy the size half of this room in the middle of a flat, there's still going to be a pressure side on that too. So you're going to get the same aspect, but everything's just going to be toned down a bit. So you're going to get more trout and red throat sitting on that front face where that tide's pushing onto. So it's all just current related. You need current, no run, no fun. Yeah.
Like good. So,
Yeah, have you tried tossing in, say, 95 centimetres swim vibes? You know,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah. What,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, you know. Or Squidrex, yeah, same deal. It all works there, mate.
Yeah.
Anything works in this area, and predominantly you're going to get GTs and mackerel, but with trout and other fish that come out and feed with them. But if you want to get that really big GT and cast a big stick bait into that area, that's the place to do it, more than anywhere probably. Yeah, unless they're up on the flats, which we'll talk about in a minute.
certainly around the bunker group.
Yep.
Say Sykes.
Yeah, Sykes is okay. Northern bunker group's good.
I've
Yep.
thrown down just the max,
Yeah.
20 metres,
Yep.
really well, but then
Yep.
just tossing a small,
Yeah,
into the reef.
Yeah.
Drift in and go.
yeah.
Yeah, fishing down that
We're
drop.
gonna, that's
Yeah.
coming up in a moment.
Sorry.
That's all right, mate. No worries. You're onto it though. Yeah, that's good.
Pick it up on you.
Have you got your question, young fella?
Do you usually use wires or just like
Mm.
what pound line would you usually use?
Yeah, so leader size for this stuff. Like if you want to cast the big stuff, I use 150 pound leader. Yep, so heavy, up to 200, just because it's not so much the fish biting it off, it's more the fish getting you in the reef. So you need something that you can pull pretty hard on. It's easier to land them as well, something to grab onto.
Yeah.
If you're going to cast little stick baits and stuff like that, just 50 or 60 pound leader. Yeah. And about a rod's length, about 6 foot.
Yeah, so if it's a trout or something like that, they may try and get you back in the reef there. If it's a doggy, they might go down deep and get you on the bottom. But if it's anything else, you've got to contend with sharks. That's your next problem.
Yeah, not too many GTs get eaten by sharks. They don't really.
Not
like
as
them.
much,
They're
no.
not good for anything. But yeah, they like red stuff. They eat red stuff pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the biggest stick baits there. Before we go into the jigging, I'm just going to talk about fishing the flats, if that's okay, up on the flats. So I'm just going to do a scenario here. I'll draw quite a big reef. That might be, I don't know, maybe 2 Ks by a K, like Sykes or whatever size it might be. Now there may be like little gaps, like those little ravines we talked about before, that come in, and then they'll lead into, once you get, the edge is always the shallowest part, right? The leeward side is always the deeper part, and the part that cops all the crap, waves and wind, is the shallowest part. Normally that's how the reefs seem to sit and form. Obviously the parts getting hit by the waves here is, this is the east, say, east facing, that's south over here, southeast. And that's getting most of the wind and swell and whatever, and because the coral's breaking, it's building up, and that's why you get sometimes even a coral K on that corner there. But back around this way here, that comes around here, there may be these little areas that come in like this, and they'll just keep going, a little gap, and then you get a lot of bombing. So this will get deeper as you're going in. It might be, that's like out of the water nearly. And this is maybe 6 to 8 metres deep on average. Out here you might have some bommies that are in maybe around 20 metres deep. Okay, you'll see them. You look over and see the dark shadow. Then up here you've got all these bommies everywhere, just bommies everywhere. And then there might be a bit of a hole, like I said before, about maybe the size of a football field, with bommies inside of that too, like so. And it'll be like that just everywhere, just reef everywhere. And it'll just be everywhere like that sort of thing. So once the tide, how we normally fish, if it's high tide, say at like, say 7 o'clock in the morning, I'd be fishing a reef flat straight up from daylight, last the high tide, and then for about 2 hours of the run out. Then once it gets too shallow up there, then I'm getting out of there because I could get stuck in there because the tides are a lot bigger up north than they are down our way. And so I'll push in as far as, if I come in through here, this might be a bit of swell rolling through here because it's on the east side. So it's probably going to be maybe a little bit hard. So I might come around this edge here and I'll note those two. I might see my sounder, they'll come up a bit from maybe 30 metres up to like 15 and go back down again. So I'll mark those and then I'll come in here and then I'll just work my way up and I'll see this up here. And we normally go as far as we can. Let's say that the pressure point's over here and the current's coming this way and the swell's breaking that way. So the current's always pushing you back this side of the reef. It's always taking it across the reef. So we'll go up as far as we can onto it and decide to work from here back. So we'll go maybe this side first, the side of that big lagoon, and cast up from here and then hit all these bommies, casting up into the bommies. So casting up into the current and trying to find a gap between the bommies where you know you're going to try and pull a fish out. If you cast out the top of bommies, it's very hard, especially with sinking stick baits, because you get caught on the bottom too much. So do you use floating over sinking on that sort of scenario? Let's imagine now it's high tide and on the top of these bommies it's still maybe 2 metres at the shallowest, maybe 3 metres on average. So I'd be using a sinking stick bait 100%. So you just got to know when it's going to not quite hit the bottom before you start raking it back. And you'll pull a trout or two off every one of these lumps here, or a red throat at least, in most places. And normally, if you're bait fishing, you'd probably go up here, you'd sit your boat in here and you just cast all this edges and pull out trout and red throat on bait. But you never really do this sort of stuff with bait because it's just too hard. That makes sense. You're drifting, getting snagged all the time. But with lures, you have the luxury of being able to put it between that lump and trying to work it back through and getting fish out of it. I don't know how you worked it, Stu. Is that how you sort of worked it?
Yeah, similar. So yeah, as Dougie said, we done the same. Just drive up as far as you can, and I don't cast and bring it back with the tide. I always just cast to where you're drifting. Yeah, so work it against.
Okay.
I usually work it against the thing. Only because if you catch a fish that coming this way, you got more chance of pulling it out. And you drift into it anyway. So if it gets you, you just drift over to it, get it out, done. Yeah. Rather than if you're casting where you've already been, you've drifted over it. You're fishing stale water. You've drifted over it. Not to say that they spook in shallow water, but they've seen a boat. So yeah, we'll do 1 or 2 drifts that side. Maybe the third drift won't be as much. So then we'll go around the other side, work down this side here as much as we can. It might be too shallow over here. And then the last thing we do is we hit that hole because we believe once the fish spook a bit, they'll go into this hole here. Okay, and then we'll work that hole. Unless you have electric outboard on your boat, it's probably going to be a matter of just keep constantly going up and down along it, depending on the wind and the current, whatever it might be. But anything up to about a 6 or 7 metre boat, you'll get in there, no problems at all, as long as it's sort of high tide. As I was saying, on top of these bommies, it might be 2 or 3 metres deep at high tide, but they're going to probably drop at least 6 or 8 metres of tidal drop out of that lagoon. So these become exposed at low tide. You don't want to be stuck in there. You could probably sit in there and ride it out.
because that's fairly deep. That'd be a bit boring once you caught the fish there. But yeah, we'll start hitting this one casting. We do a bit opposite Stu, so we'll start casting here from about back here, casting over the edge and bring it back, cast it on that edge there, bring it back, and then we'll get into there, then cast that edge there last. That's how I do it. Yeah, work my way forward instead of behind. But yeah, and you get a lot of good fish in that lagoon. The best thing about that lagoon is it's fairly clean. There might be a couple of bombies inside, they might dig on it, but you'll get a lot of trout and red throat that sit around that edge inside there. Like that reef there, you might be able to do like a 2 or 3 hour session in the morning and pull off 8 or 10 trout and 8 or 10 big red throat plus other stuff as well in a 3 hour session. So once you've done that and you've got to get out of there, so then you go back and you think, oh, hang on, I've marked these 2 spots back here. So what I'll do, I'll use my sinking stick bait. It was 15 metres, now it's only about 10 metres from the surface. And I'll use my stinking stick bait. Sinking one, not stinking. Cast it up, and I'll let it fall a fair bit, and let it like fall a long time, or anything, soft plastics, whatever it might be, and then just slowly work it back, and they'll just whack it, and they're really good sized quality fish in that deeper water. I find they are. Did you do much of that deeper stuff?
I just use little prawns in that stuff.
Yeah,
like
prawns
that
are good too.
Yeah. Just on a half ounce with the light rod.
Yeah.
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 You're in the hole.
Yep.
Would you still be using it sinking stick bait?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Because
Because it's quite deep. That might be 20 metres deep.
You'd still cast out and then sort of let it sit, or would you?
Let it. If that edge is like, if I can get over that edge and cut and bring it back over the edge, I won't let it go too far down.
Yeah.
But once I get over the edge, I'm in the clean water. I'll let it sink again a bit more before I finish it off. Yeah. And they'll come from the bottom up and grab it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd probably throw a plastic or a vibe more in that.
Yeah, that'd be good
personally.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's say 20 metres deep, that you can jig in that.
Yeah.
Like that'd be
You could.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Done that too. Yep. So look for that sort of scenario no matter what reef you're at.
If you were jigging, would you get right under the hard edge or just...
Oh, you'd be back a little bit. From
Yeah,
it. If you're too close to it, they just get you too quick.
I'm going to be out here.
All the fish up here and stuff like that, they come out, look at it, eat it on the way back in. They're like a jack down here, you know. But yeah, you'd probably jig more around those isolated bombies around it rather than this hard face here. Yeah.
Any questions on that at all? No? All good? Okay. So any questions on the stick baits or poppers type of scenario at all?
How do you pick your colours? Is it
Yeah,
bright colour on a bright day or...
No, it's not up there, mate. I don't really think it makes a lot of difference, although you become a bit superstitious on colour because one's doing really well for you. Like I have a favourite jig colour, which is by far that one there. It's one of my favourite colours. In stick baits, I call them every colour you can think of. And poppers I don't use as much, but natural colours seem to work well. Stick baits.
I just have like something that you can see. Like if it's bright, you use something shiny. You can see where your lure is. You know when to sink it down.
Got to wear polarised
You know
glasses.
when to like work it. If you've got fish up it, like following it, and they start veering off, you can slow it down and try to get them to come back, type of thing. Yeah, but look, I think as long as there's something with a bit of flash on it, nice and reflective.
Yeah, so just by personalised on as in get more bites, man, I don't think it makes a big lot of difference. Yeah, not like down here. So where it's coral trout colour or purple or something like that, you know. Okay, we'll go now to. I just want to show this one here. So all the stick baits we talked about before, most of them are sinking stick baits. There are some floating ones. The range from and they do. I can't remember the name of the one here today. They do one range of floating stick baits which are more cylindrical shape rather than the deep belly style. The V-swim. Do you know what's called?
It's a V-swim. The other one's a V-stick.
Yeah, V-swim's.
The other one's a V-stick. Yeah, that's floating.
The V-stick's a floating one. That's the sinking one. I prefer this one 100 times better over the floating one. This one here is a Japanese one. So this is like I don't know if you use a Sammy, like for jacks and stuff like that. So it sits out of the water like that sort of thing. So when you pull it, it slides on the top. It works really well as well. Very hard to get reefed, but they get eaten by sharks badly. Okay, we'll go to jigging now. So we'll just show the gear again and then we'll run through how to do it. Stewie and I, big fan. This lure here, I'll pass this around. This is probably our biggest selling reef prawn, which is
golden carrot.
golden carrot.
Really, really good. They do some pretty good other
Actually-
colours. They do a black one now with a chartreuse dot on it. That's really good as well. I caught a lot of fish up north on that.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just rig one up real quickly for you guys. I'll get through to do it while I'm talking to you. So this is how we rig it up. A little bit different to they come pre-rigged. Find the jig heads it is too. Somewhere anyway. Trying to find the heavy hooks too, so that doesn't. Oh, here we go. So it matches. Oh, Stewie's. Okay, this is Stewie's tackle box.
Done.
I'll pass these around too, but you want something that's sort of half decent in strength in the hooks. A lot of the lures these days using BKK hooks and whatever. This is sort of average size you'll be using in that bit deeper water. So you'll pass that around now.
That's a
it,
lighter one,
perfect.
so like that's 5/8, just over ½ ounce, and yeah, it's enough. If you're using that lighter gear, so obviously using that lighter gear, as I said before, thinner line, less drag. I was fishing that in 30 metres, no problems. Yeah, with a bit of current.
So like Xeric do, that colour's that Betty's such a great colour up in the reef. That's that colour there. I'll pass that around too. That size is about as small as you want to use, up to that bit bigger size. And then you got in the Berkeley they do the shimmer prawns, which are that range there. These will work really well as well. The only problem with this one is it has trebles on it, so it will get hooked on the reef easier, but it'll definitely catch fish easier than using a single hook up. Stu, I use these a lot too.
Yeah, they're good sinking
really
down.
good. Yep.
Don't have to do much, just slow wind, they'll just swim.
And flat shads are really good too. And that's probably about as big as I'd use, guys, on the flats. So this is still casting over the edge of the flats or over bommies that are 10 or 15 metres down, 20 metres maybe max. Yeah. So a lot of you may, I don't know if you're planning a new trip, but you may want to do an overnight on the reef sort of scenario where you anchor up, say, at Fitzroy Reef or somewhere overnight. There's a lot of fish in the lagoon at night, big trout, red throats, spangled emperor by the lots, and other brands of fish. And doing this sort of fishing at night time is really, really good with this sort of prawn type scenario or vibes.
How do you beat the sharks in the lagoon overnight?
Yeah, they're not as bad as you think. I have more problem during the day actually, outside the lagoon, on the edge of the reef, say. Night time, yeah, the sharks there. The sharks are bad in, say, the Swains area at night time, but not as bad in the bunker group. As
We
bad.
found fish, right? You don't even waste the time fishing.
They couldn't get fish up.
No.
Yeah.
The sharks are just too big in there.
Yeah.
Who was this?
Yeah. How long ago was that, mate? Around about.
We're probably over the last few years.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe they've honed in on it. Yeah. Okay. If you haven't drawn the sharks, you can't do much about it. You can't move on at night time. Unfortunately, you got to stay there. You're anchored up.
One of the guys actually hooked onto a marlin in the lagoon one
No.
day. Yeah.
Serious? At night time or daytime?
No, through the day.
Yeah. Right.
But there was just boats everywhere.
Yeah. Well, during COVID, it's like Fitzroy wasn't. It was well known, but not as well known as since COVID. 2020 is when it changed, and like I think, and the weather was fantastic that year, and because you could go fishing for sustenance. It became a very popular place. I remember there one weekend, I don't know how many of our customers went up there, it was ridiculous. We couldn't go, we were too busy. But there were, I think, 86 boats in Fitzroy on one night. It was crazy. And the photos I saw was just off the Richter scale. Yeah,
A
it's
lot of
busy.
people used to go south,
Yeah.
people going north.
Yeah, well, Sykes and Masthead Furt that way is more popular now. Yeah, so Musgrave is still good fishing, don't get me wrong. My biggest reds have come from the inside of Musgrave, but Sykes for trout and stuff like that's definitely better, yeah.
We did good last in July this year.
Yeah, did you, mate? Yeah. Yep.
You seem to get a lot bigger trout up at Sykes.
Yeah, good size, that's right, yep. So, so if you haven't been to the reef yet, who hasn't been to the reef yet with their boats or been reef fishing before? Okay, a couple of you. So you're probably going to find that's going to be your most closest point, best fishing, and there's always boats there. There's always boats there, especially on a good weekend, or even during the week. So you launch at 1770, or you launch up at Turkey Beach or Gladstone, and just run east. And there's a whole range of islands there and atolls. Some are green zones. Be careful. Make sure you know green zones in all reef fishing. They're really tough on it. And one of our customers, real nice guy, I won't say who he is, but his first trip up there, he went out of 1770. His cousin gave him some marks, and they fished there and absolutely smashed it. And then he got a knock on his door maybe about 5 months later, and it was two fisheries officers went to his house, and they said, "Oh, do you own this boat?" And he said, "Yeah, that's my boat." And they said, "Oh, were you fishing up in the reef on such and such day?" And he said, "Yeah, we had a great time. They smashed it." And he said, "Did you know you're fishing a green zone?" He goes, "I didn't know I was fishing a green zone." He goes, "No, my mate gave me my cousin gave me some marks over." And well, they said, "Well, you were fishing in a green zone, and we got pictures of you." And he
From the sky.
yeah, from a plane, yeah. And he said, he goes, that's your boat, right? And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I do remember a plane. I thought it was a tourist plane. I was waving to it." He goes, "Yeah, we got the picture of you waving to us." And they showed him the picture of him waving. And he goes, "I had known it was you guys, I would have probably not been there, would have taken off." And he goes, "Don't worry, this is the first picture of you." I was from 30-something k's away. They took the picture of him on the reef, and they showed it to him. They said, "This is from 30-something k's away. We've already got you." Yeah, so be careful, that's what I'm saying. So he got fined, but because he was adamantly truth, he'd tell the truth, and they could see that. So, and he didn't have much fish left by that time, so they took what they had left, took his fish, and they gave him, yeah, it's a long time, but apparently they're processing data that, it was during COVID time too, by the way, first year. And yeah, they fined him not as much, but a fair bit still. Didn't lose his boat or anything.
They told us we're on night crossing that
Yep.
the planes will fly over and see if you're too far away from the mothership in the small boats.
Oh wow.
Because there's a limit.
Yeah, there is,
Yeah.
5k I think it
And
is.
they'll
5
fine.
nautical mile with a
Five-
body boat, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
they'll
that-
fine you for being too far away from the
Is that
the
correct?
mothership.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. There you go. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Those fisheries, national parks,
Mm.
they move around at night,
Mm.
around the Keppel Island group. They even check to see whether you've got a bloody fire going. And
Is that right, eh?
7 o'clock at night.
Geez, they do their job right then.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
They're around.
Yeah. And we, I did a trip 2 years ago. My friend, he's got a big boat, picked us up at Airlie, and we worked all the reef out and inside all the way up to Cairns over a sort of week or 10 days. And we had one of the big fishery boats, because he's a real good fisher guy, he does it every year for the last 20 years. And they hovered us all the time. Every time we pull up in a lagoon at night, they were just over there. And sometimes we pull up on a green zone, because you can pull up at night time and anchor, whatever. And my mate, I could see the fish, and I just keep going, "Don't." Next thing you see this stealth big boat come in and anchor right near us, like, "Oh, geez, lucky." Yeah, it was tempting. But yeah, you have to be, obviously, it's for a cause, so just do the right thing. But they'll be ahead of you before you know it. So check your green zones. Unfortunately, there's no signs up out in the reef. It's all latitude and longitude So they expect you to have a GPS on the boat. If you've got release shading or any of those better charts, it's marked on there anyhow. You can get a thing which we got. It's a National Parks Fishing 2.0 it's called. I think Fishing 2.0 it's called, sorry. It's a Queensland Government app, and it works on the same as a Navionics type app. So it works on satellite, not data. So if you've run out of data, it then switches to satellite. So you can still say, like they got you, you can't say I had no data, so I didn't know where I was. It shows you exactly where you are in the green zone or off the green zone, wherever it might be. So for your side of things, it's a great tool to have on your phone. Choose a bit of battery up though.
What's it called?
Fishing 2.0.
Can I fish here?
That's right, correct. So you got little things there. It's like shows you different species live and sorts of stuff. Yeah, no, it works really well. We use it actually out here when we're fishing on Australia because it's very hard to know when you're trolling for mackerel whether in the green zone or not. And it's exactly spot on, eh? And they're always 50 metres inside the green zone. Yeah, painful. Anyhow, get back to here. So, so that's sort of like on the edges and on the bottom is at the front of the reef. Now we're going to go away from the reef and we're going to do jigging. So jigging is like, I really like jigging out in the reef. And it's just like, as I was saying before, you work the top of the tide, you work the edge, you work the front, you're halfway down tide now, and then the tide's going to get low for the next 2 or 3 hours. So that's when we go jigging. And that could be in the middle of the day, it could be any time of the day, whatever it might be, at that tide. Then as the tide starts to come back in again, we'll zoom around and fish the pressure point again and cast. So that's how our scenario works in the tide, if that makes sense. So you don't have time to rest. You're doing different things all during that 6-hour period. But in that last 2 hours, the run out on the jigging scenario, what we've done is in between the reef, again, I'll just roughly draw it. Like a reef there, another one over here, another one over here maybe. And you might have been playing in here all day and you're sort of heading across to have a look on this one over here. And then you'll see your sounder. This is your sounder box here, sort of thing. And you'll see the bottom sort of come along. And then it might be a little bit of a hump like this sort of thing. And we just call them humps out in the paddock, and that might be 0 to 80 metres, and that's 60, and that comes up to say 42 metres on the top there. So, and that's on your sounder like that sort of thing, right? And then when you've gone over it, and there's been quite a bit of fish on it, especially down low, the fish that are down low are obviously going to be trout and reefies. And if the fish are stacked up, maybe a bunch like that, even fairly close to the bottom, they could be nanagai, which are really, really good too, guys. So what we'll do there is we'll mark that hump. So we were heading across here to have fish around this reef, and we'll mark that hump just here. So let's just imagine it's about this size. It's quite big, maybe 300 metres long, and maybe 50 metres, 80 metres across, and it comes up maybe 20 metres from 80 up to 60 in the middle of that channel between the two reefs, or 60 up to 30, whatever it might be. And what we'll do, just like we do out here, we'll just do a blind drift and just see which way we're drifting. I'm going to be drifting this way or that way, whichever way it may be, and then jig it accordingly. So if we're going to be going drifting, from here to here, and there's not much wind, we're drifting that way. So we'll start up here, sort of thing, and then drift our way across the reef and jigging it. We'll do one drift or two drifts over the top, maybe one on this edge here, one on this edge here, and work it pretty hard, and try and find out are the fish up on this end here. There's a bit of current on that corner, or they're on the top, or they're down this end. You've got to find where they are. They'll be generally in patches, and based upon that, there may be a lot of food in the middle here, so they're in the middle. Pressure point here, they're on there, and there might be a lot of fern or growth at the end here, and they'll be there as well. There might be a bit of drifting where you don't get much. But when you're drifting and jigging, we're using I use around about sort of 80 to 130 gram jigs. Stu, what was your favourite size that we had?
Yeah, 60 to 100, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
60 to 100. And I love jigs that have got hooks either end, I know it sounds stupid because you're going to get hooked on the bottom on the reef. Yeah, you do sometimes, but generally a fish will pull it out for you. It'll be hooked up to it. So it's not too bad. As I said before, that's one of my favourite colours and my favourite jig for fishing on the reef. And you get a lot of 2 fish at one time, so 2 trout, 50 centimetres, whatever, a red throat and a trout, saddleback and a trout, cod and a trout, and really not many one fish, sometimes. But there are other lures that are really, really good as well in that category, but keeping it again in that sort of, like Stewie said, 60 to 100, 130 max. These are Vex. Vex do a really good range as well. I no doubt these have worked. Did you try these up there? Stu?
Yeah.
Have
Yeah, I
a look.
use the smaller ones of them. Really, really good, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the type of stuff we're using. The Berkeleys, they do a really, really good range as well. We sell lots and lots of these for up the reef. All I do is then add another hook to the bottom of it and bring it up like the mustard ones. So the mustard ones, as I was saying before, they're just, to me, they're the killer. That's the stag, isn't it?
Yep.
Staggerbod.
Staggerbod, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so staggerbod are a little bit different. So the action on jigging up in the reef is very different to what you do out here. I'll let Stewie show you his style first. What's your style, Stewie?
I just shake the rod a fair bit,
Yeah,
actually.
that's the secret.
So I'll drop it down, I hit the bottom, and I kind of, like obviously I wind up the slack first,
Yep.
and I'll kind of rip it, like rip, and wind. Yep, only a little bit. I won't, my thing is, reef fish and stuff like that, they hang around the reef, they don't kind of venture too far off. They're always hanging in caves and stuff, so you don't want to rip it up past them. They're not like a snapper out here that would, the bigger fish sit higher in the water column and they patrol around. Generally, the stuff that hangs around higher in the water column out there are crap that you don't want to catch, like trevally and mac tuna and all that stuff. That's what I found. But yeah, so more shaking, less winding. Yeah.
Yep, exactly right. So my style is very similar to Stewie. Drop down, hit the bottom, take up slack, just wind up just a little bit off the bottom. And I just do one lift, like slow lift like that, drop it back down, and then just shake it. Just like Stewie says, just like shake, and stop. And I'll just jump straight on. It's weird how it works. Where if you do the sort of, like we do out here type jigging, it doesn't work. Oh, it didn't work for me, I don't know about you, Stu.
No, I call some jobbies doing
Oh,
that, but that's
in
about
deeper
it.
water, yeah, jobbies and
Other stuff, yeah.
yeah, bark, gold band, yeah, that's a bit bigger jig, yeah. So if you just do that technique, so it's a very easy technique. Drop down the bottom, take out slack, lift it up maybe one, drop back down, shake it, they'll be on, okay? That's how it works. It is, seriously, it's easy. Mate, we're in this one spot, I don't know if you've seen the war movie Hamburger Hill. We called it Trout Hill because it was mass murder. And everyone, it just bagged out. Everyone bagged out on trout in no time. And yeah, it was crazy. I think 7 trout in possession per angler. 7, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so you must know your bag limits too, guys, up in the reef. It's so important. Fisheries are really strict on that too. You're not meant to clean your fish at sea, believe it or not. So if you do, you got to leave skin on portion of the fillet, I think. Is that how it works?
I don't think wreck people can.
Can't clean the fish at sea?
Nah.
No.
Charters are exempt.
Over 40 centimetres or 44 centimetres you can.
Yeah, right.
Unless the fillet size is bigger than the legal size.
The fillet's got to be
Yeah.
over the legal size.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right. That's it. That's
With the
correct.
skin on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the skin on. Yeah. So there are rules and regulations. You got to check it all up, because when you especially you get nannies, they're all 6 kilo or whatever, or reds. That ice box that you got that's looked big is now full, and there's not much room. So yeah, you'll have to do something about it. And ice is really important up there too, guys. You've got to have a lot of ice in the boat. So we just use a zip bag with ice full of like 2 or 3 bags of ice in it, and then at the end of each day we put that into the big esky, big box, and transport it. Because you open the big box up every time you get a fish, it kills it. So you've got to do something else about it, and the bag's the way to go. Yeah.
Of course, you sell the bags, do you?
We do sell the bags as well. But no, but it is the way to go. It's easy. And it's generally sort of half open, just throw it in there. Yeah. So, yeah. But you can use things, as the gentleman said before, squid tracks are really good. And you've all seen squid tracks on YouTube and everywhere else. We're waiting at our next door, which I just got back from Japan today, but I was asking Stewie, I think the order's coming, you guys hasn't come in yet. So I wasn't here for tonight, I'm sorry. We've got a few there, but not many. That's about the smaller size I'd use, and that's about probably the average size I'd use.
Average design.
Yeah, the bigger one, yeah. Yeah. Now, ink faders. So we did use, because Wilson's do these as well. We use these up there and they smashed it as well. Quite different, but the same technique on the jigging, exactly the same technique. Like you can't really do like you do out here and put it in the right hole and let it catch itself because it'll get snagged on the bottom. It's too undulating up there on the reef. But they work really well. And vibes. Vibing's the other thing too. So Stu, how do you work your vibes, mate? You can't cast them out like you can up here. It's too risky. I just drop.
Yeah, I'll still cast them out.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah, cast
Get
them
snagged?
out. No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, so I just cast them out, fish them down so you'll get contact. I don't like cast them long way. It's more you got to kind of figure
The
out
depth?
how fast you. No, not
No.
that far. No. Figure out how far you drift in what amount of time, and just kind of lob it in front of the boat. Required distance, and just let it sink down. Once it gets closer to the bottom, all my braid's multicoloured. So just say you're fishing in 40 metres, you know that once you get to about 3 or 3.5 colours, you're pretty close to the bottom. So I'll click it over, let it take up the tightness, like take up the slack. It won't hit the bottom, and then I'll feed it down that extra couple metres or whatever. And then all I do is I'll just wind up the slack so you're tight and just one continuous lift. And at the top of the lift, I'll just go hop, hop, and just let it sink back down. The same thing, wind up the slack, lift, hop, hop, let it sink back down. Yeah.
You gotta have contact with the vibe all the time. Same with your octo jigs and even jigs. You got contact with it all the time. So no, lots of big slack in amongst it. A bit different to say the prawn lures we talked about earlier. You can have a bit of slack there, but yeah. Any questions on that at all? So fishing those sort of shallow areas. So the shallowest I'd probably jig would be 20 metres. You can jiggle on the edge as well, and that's generally 20 metres anyhow. So it drops down pretty quick. But there's a lot of snags, a lot more snags than out here. That's loose lure country. Okay, and you tend to get a lot smaller fish. I find the bigger fish are out in the paddock. If you can find that hump or that hill or a big bommy out in the middle of nowhere and work it, it's really good.
Yeah, it's a draw cut.
Yeah, draw card, yeah.
What's your thoughts on fishing in a boat where some bait fishing and lure fishing? It tends to diminish the lure fishing, doesn't it? I'm not so sure.
Generally,
Yeah.
generally the lure will catch less but better quality.
That's true.
Yeah.
A bit like flathead fishing, I guess. Yeah. But when they're on, the lure fishing outfishes the bait. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, when they're on, definitely. Yeah. But I've never really had we're either just mainly lure fishing, so haven't had the opportunity to fish next to someone bait and see who's the best. It'd be a good call though, but I've done a lot of bait fishing. Years ago, the first 3 trips I did to Swains, we just bait fished the whole time and bagged out and everything, you know. But did we get as many fish? I don't think we did. I think we got more fish on lures. Like the last trip we did in Big Cat, we did a 9-day trip, so you get 3 times the bag limit. So, so our possession was it 9 trout or 7 trout? 9 nannies per in possession. I think 7 trout. I think. So yeah, so everyone had 21 trout. Yeah, so there was times 16 is 400 trout or something. Yeah. The best day we had on trout between there's only 6 stories, 7 stories, sorry. 2 guys in a boat. It was 164 trout in one day. Yeah, all on lures. Yeah. So I don't know if we ever got that on bait in the previous years. I don't think I did. And then we go a little bit deeper, water fishing. So sometimes in these channels it can be 80 metres deep or even 100 metres deep, especially up in around Airlie, some 120 metre spots up there around some of the areas there. But most of this would be on the outside edge of the reef. So talking like, say, outside of, say down the bunker group from Fitzroy up to Sykes or Masthead, whatever, where it drops in sort of the outside edge of the reef there drops there around 60 metres, and then it keeps sort of slowly tapering down. And then we call it the hards or the hard line, which means the edge. It's like our 50 fathom reef out here. So it'll be like 60, 80, there might be a few bumps around the place. Then once you get to about 100, then it falls a bit steeper. And along that edge there is where you get your gold band, snapper, your really big reds. You get all the other fish too. Even deepest trout we caught is probably about 70 metres. I don't think I've caught one over in 100 metres yet. But anyhow, and we'll fish with a bit bigger jigs. So we're fishing like 250, 200 about 300 grams. I'll pass these around. This is a new Shimano one that's really good. These ones are Japanese. We got those on special Stewie's deal at the moment.
2 for 50.
And they're 50 bucks each normally. That's the sort of stuff we're using in that sort of 80 to 120 metre depth. And you get heaps of big amberjacks. Even at the Swains, they're everywhere. So amberjacks are a dime a dozen, and the average size is around about sort of 5 to 20 kilos. So it's a bit of a mix up when you drop down what you're going to get. So you get gold band, ambers, green jobfish are popular. I've got a massive long nose red throat. What do they call those things?
Long nose emperor.
Long nose emperor, that's the one. You get a lot of those too in the deep water. And other species, cods and a lot of big things you can't get up. And doggies, you get doggies as well. Yeah. So that's out in that deeper water. So off Musgrave and further up, I'd definitely be looking on that outer edge if you've got the good weather, because it doesn't get fished as hard and it definitely works really well. The problem you're going to have is current. But if you do it in winter, the current's not too bad. And the current seems to be quite aggressive out from Fraser south. It doesn't quite hit as hard off Gladstone or the Swains Reef or even other areas. It seems to be more wild down here because it's very east part of Australia. So we get a lot more direct current. But up north it tapers in and the current's not as bad. So look on your charts, even just a cheap, but no charge chart would be the bomb weather one, and they do it's called IDYOC 300, I think it is. IDYOC 300. It is kind of, it says current and sea temperatures, and if you click on that, and then it'll show you the east coast. So you can do South East Queensland or Central Queensland, and you'll see like a 4-day forecast of current. So if you're in that area, you want to go a little bit deeper and try, you've got some idea what the current's doing 4 days in advance. And if it's less than 2 knots, you definitely give it a crack if you've got good weather, because that's where your bigger fish are. Yep, they're not lower. Don't get many 50 centimetre fish. And as I said before, Wilson did the Staggerbond. That's a really good popular lure too. And Berkeley, that one there as well. Yeah. So the jigging out there is, you can do that same sort of style, but we're going back to more of a faster style. Not fast, but like slow pitch jigging style. Just keep working it, working it, and working it. Has anyone done that type of jigging on the reef yet at all? No. It's very productive. Like we did one day because Big Cat, the first day we got there was windy, so we went out and did deep water straight up, and everyone jigged, and there was 16 guys hooked up around the boat on jigs. It was just crazy mayhem. Yeah, and of all different species.
You just jig 10 metres up and drop it down again?
Yeah, about 20 metres up, mate. Or we'd have to wind back up because it got a bit out of it and drop it back down again. Yeah, but as soon as you start, it would be straight on. Yeah. Matter of getting the fish up. Sharks out there aren't as bad as in close, but when they hone in on you, then they're bad. Yeah. So other ways of deterring the sharks. Look, there's, like we sell them downstairs, there's things that jump on putting a line and they're supposed to repel the sharks. You can't use them with a jig, so it's only bait fishing really. Do they work? I don't know. I think sharks are going to get you no matter what. There's only one way for deterring sharks, but I can't say it on top of here. That's the smooth spots. So you've got to put up with it. Simple as that. How do you get rid of the sharks, Stu? Move?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you do 2 drifts, then you both double. So you got 2 guys on the boat, and you both hook up second time on sharks again. You hook up and fish straight away, of course, but then you get sharked, and after the second drift, you've got to get out of there. Maybe come back later, try, or you just disappear, and disappear fast, because I'll follow you. Yeah. If you just sort of go like, say, 10 knots and go a couple of Ks and find the next patch, they'll be right beside you again. You might get the first fish up, that's it. The second one you won't get up. They're everywhere. They say they're not, but they definitely are. Another thing, 2 guys at night time at the reef, those who have done fish or whatever, squid. You get any squid?
Yeah, we had a few last night at site.
Yeah, definitely, mate. So have some squid jigs on the boat. Because you normally have your underwater lights on or even just the lights from the cab. The squid will be all around your boat. There's squid everywhere. I don't understand, like I do a lot of squidding out here, and once it gets past winter and starts to get warm, they just disappear. Up there, the water's like 30 degrees and they're everywhere. So here it goes above 22 and they're out of here, you know. So it's quite weird how it works. But up there, there's lots and lots of squid. They're good size as well. So good bait, good fresh bait, or to eat as well. So squid. Stewie, before I do the tool side of things, anything you want to talk about on the lures?
Not really. I think the only thing is, like everyone says, there's heaps of fish up there. Yes, there is, but they don't always want to bite.
No, bite time.
Bite time's a big thing, but scent's a big thing too. So on the last day, we fished back around when we came back around I think Heron type of area, and all the boats went out and done whatever in the morning, and then we had lunch, and then we fished again in the RV, and it was a tough bite, and I was one of the only ones with scent, and I put a bit on the lure, and I was fishing with 2 others in the boat, and I just started smacking them. Just with a bit of scent. Put scent on another lure, the other guy started catching them, the third guy still catching nothing, put scent on his, he started catching them. It's too good to be a coincidence. You don't need it all the time, but I think it definitely makes a bit of a difference at times. So, I mean, for the cost of it, it's small, it doesn't take up much room, take it a little bit up there with you. Yeah.
Good call. Yep. Okay, just a few tools. Any questions on the lures so far, guys? And the actions and that? Right, you're all good? Okay, just a few things you may need. As much as we think we're all tough, you get hammered. Okay, in many areas, in your groin, blisters on your hands, even though you might be a hard worker, we're not, as in physical, but you will get blisters on jigging and casting poppers all day. And then trouble is the second day your hands start to crack on the blisters and it becomes hard, right? Tape up your fingers or whatever. So as much as they look different, girly maybe, nothing wrong with girly, but you need to have some sort of gloves. Okay, there's Daiwa do them, Shimano do them, we've got all different brands and then Nomad, whatever. A belt of some type, this would be about the smallest belt I'd probably use, be something like that. Something that's easy, especially got a big GT on for your rod to slide straight down into the slot. Okay, you can have something like that hangs off your belt. And as soon as you hook up a fish, you just drop the button there and use it as a point, something like that. That type of thing, very, very popular. Cushion type style. I've got cushions downstairs as well, big ones, small ones, all sizes. That's just a different brand, same deal. I'll pass that around, Stewie. Split ring pliers, you need to take spare trebles, guys, and spare rings. Reason being, again, no tackle shop out there. And when you start getting a lot of fish, especially a lot of GTs, and you dehook them all the time using pliers, they will bend the hooks eventually. And once they're a bit bent, you put them back in place, they just bend too easy. The temper's gone out of it and it doesn't work very good. So have a good pair of split ring pliers. These ones here are pretty cool. They clip onto your belt and they swivel as well. Easy to grab out, whatever. Great product. You see in Stewie's little toolbox, he's got one of these.
Yeah.
A great tool. So when you get your red throat or your coral trout, and your lure's stuck down its throat, you can sort of push down on that one to get dislodge the hook, or pull up on this one to pull it out of its mouth, or just hold the line and hold the fish and go to that, and it'll just rip it out and drop it straight into the bag. So just a tool like that. Pliers sheath, keep on your belt. So you need to wear a belt up there, guys, or have a bait board that's got all the stuff on it ready to roll, because you're always looking for your scissors or your pliers or whatever you think to fall overboard or put it on the side of the deck to go overboard. I don't know where it is, but if it's on here, you know where it is. That's a bigger size pair of split ring pliers for bigger ones. This is a safety tool I'd recommend. These are really good. Better than carrying a big pair of bolt cutters around. They'll cut up to about a 12-0, I think it is. And we call it Optia emergency treble cutter. But they'll cut quite thick steel, probably around about nearly 2 mil. And they're very, very good. Because I don't know if you saw the video, I got one on my foot. I pulled that out, but it was hard, but I was a bit drunk at the time, so it came out not too bad. But I tell you what, I put 40-pound, it's on the YouTube, I put 40-pound or 50-pound line on it first and did a couple of things and pulled on it, and I thought I'd pull two hooks through my leg like that up to the weld, and I pulled on one, and I thought, this is ridiculous, like I wouldn't come out. I actually cut my hand quite deep on the line I wrapped around my hand. So then I upgraded to 130 or something, wrapped that around, and then I still couldn't pull it out. It was so in there, that one little barb, you know. So I don't know how fish dislodge hooks, they're pretty good. So, but once you get one out, the second one's easy. But have a good pair of pliers on the boat, whether it be that style or your bigger style, like this type of thing here. These are pretty popular, big pair of pliers, man pair of pliers. You need something like that to get the hooks out as well. Toothy critters, red bass are probably the worst things. They're a bit like mango jack, their jaws like chopped. They've got big teeth like canines, but that's about everything you're probably going to need a lip grip for. The rest you can just put your hand in the gill and take a photo. Fillet knives, you need something that's got a fairly long blade on it, at least a 8-inch blade or 9-inch blade. Okay, if you're going to fillet those bigger ones that are above legal size in the fillet, you need a long blade. So a decent knife. Braid wise, we're going to talk about braid before. So there's a lot of different braids on the market. Some braids are bang for buck, really good value, and other braids are not very good value. And then there's new braids that are really good value. So in saying that, what I meant is, example, if I've got any grappler here, no I haven't. So grappler braid's probably our biggest selling braid. Just because it's bang for buck, it's the best and it's the thinnest. So 89 pounds, 50 pound in most brands of braid in diameter. So you can fish quite we were saying on that light outfit, you can fish 50 pound, but it's the same thickness as 30. So you get 300 metres of 50 pound on a little 5,000 size reel. So it's a really good idea, you know, to go lighter, thinner, not lighter, but still 50 pound, but go a lot thinner braid. It's actually 59 pounds, isn't it? No, 60.
PS3s, yeah, 59.
59, yeah, that's right. Casts make a really good one as well. This is actually 12 ply, so it's 12 wraps instead of 8, so it's very smooth, so casts really, really well. It's PE3, so 30 pound, it's 50 pounds, so it's still quite thin, it's in that category. I'll pass that around. And then you get into the really higher grade again, so it doesn't come in multicolour though. This is 16 ply, so this one is a hollow as well. So this one allows you to thread up your own leader up internal and do like a wind on leader out of your own line, if that makes sense. So you just put your leader up inside of this one, thread it up a fair way, and then just whip it at the end and glue it in, sort of thing. Works really well. That's another product that's really good. But then Daiwa brought out, the problem with the really thin lines is they're very abrasion non-resistant, if that makes sense. So you touch the reef, they just ping and break. So you go to the American braids like Power Pro or any of the Spectra or the old Byline.
Yeah, fire line, spider white, all that stuff.
Yeah, and fins. They're very tough on reef, right? The problem is they're very thick and they're just not that nice to use. So Daiwa brought out this braid only about a month or two ago. So it's nearly as thin as the thinnest ones, not quite, but getting there. But it's also 300% more abrasion resistant. So so 53 pounds instead of being 30 at P3, it's P4. So it's still quite thinner than most other braids, but it's 300% more abrasion resistant. So it's the first one to bring out, a Japanese one to bring out a abrasion resistant type braid. Good little pair of cutters. These things are phenomenal, Stu, like this.
They're really, really good actually.
They'll cut like from 4 pound braid to 130 pound braid just by the millimetre without holding it, just loose. Really, really good tool. Pass it around too. And then I just want to show you a couple of other plastics that work really well as well. And then jig heads. In the jig head brands, there's a couple that have gone around already, I think. But you want hooks that are fairly sustainable to the size line that you're using. So there's no good having 50 pound braid and putting on just the cheap 6.0 hook that bends out too easy, because 50 pound braid put a lot of pressure on it, right? And if you're locking up the fish to try and hold them out of the reef, the hook's just going to bend out. So your hook needs to be able to withstand what the power that you're going to put on the drag. So you need to fish reasonably heavy hooks up on the reef. Problem is, when you're hooked on the bottom, they don't bend out, and you've got to break your line. Simple. Plastics that work really well. Like we've been selling chase baits forever, and they've always been a reef winner, those sort of things. They now do this pink colour, which I think is going to... Pink is the go up there, guys. Pink or red, orange. White and greens are probably next, which is like this type of thing here. That's about probably as big a plastic as you want to use, and that's small as you want to use, sort of 3 inch to about 6 inch. Casts do these fellows, because those cast guys are always fishing at the reef. That fellow there will pass around through. And the last thing I want to show you, if you're going to use swivels up there, guys, so some guys are a bit worried about doing their knots. You should learn to trust your own knots. Very important. That way you don't care what you do, you just tie it, okay? Instead of procrastinate about it. So otherwise, use a good swivel. And when you're up there, again, your jigs are expensive, your lures are expensive, you spend a lot of money getting there. Don't buy a $10 packet of snap swivels, get yourself decent ones, okay? Ones that don't break and do the job all right. And I think that's a bit in the tools, Stu. Yeah. Okay, so last thing I'll tell you about is where to go. So any questions on tools? Everyone's happy with that? Good gaff too, really important. Donger, you don't dong the fish, but I'll definitely take a brain spike and spike the fish, okay, in the head. What's that app called again? Ikijimi? Ikijimi, yeah. Put that app on your phone, it shows you every type of fish where to spike it. Okay?
What's it called?
Ikijimi. I-K-I-J-I-M-I, I think.
It's J-I-N-E, isn't it?
E, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll write down the board here, guys. Does anyone not have Navionics on your phone yet, or iPad or something? Got to have Navionics on your phone, guys. It's about $40 a year. It can save your life, and it'll definitely give you fishing spots that your mates don't want you to know about. Navionics, okay, and just the Australia, Navionics Australia, I think it's called. And the other ones, Jimmy. So those two apps you should have on your phone. So the Navionics one will show you all the reef in full detail, and right down to like that size, okay? And you'll be able to see where you are. You can do tracks all during the day, see yourself moving around, and all those release shadings all on there. And it's $40 a year instead of $400 for a chart. If you're on your boat, that's fine. It works with, it's based upon Navionics and
CMAP.
CMAP, that's right, combined.
Do they show you the green zones on that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And little dots around it where not to fish. Yeah. Not as good as the other one. So the other one's called fishing to 0.0. That's the green zone one. Yep. And you just click on can I fish here, and it'll tell you straight away. Hightail it, quick. Don't put your line in the water.
Oh, just a bit off topic.
Yeah, right, mate.
We talked about earlier.
Mm.
If you're going offshore and you have a radio range for a long time,
Yeah,
the
so
products of InReach 2.
yeah, what's it called, mate?
It's
InReach
called
2.
a Garmin. It's an InReach 2.
Yep.
They cost about $500.
Yep. Is it like a booster? Is it, mate?
No, it's got an app on your phone.
Oh, right.
Basically, make it easier if you've got a Garmin kit on your boat.
Yep.
They support it as well.
Right.
For $20 a month, you get 10 text messages, free.
Yep.
It's a satellite service. It's got an SOS function. I send a message home to my wife each night when I'm going to Fitzroy or something like that,
Very good.
saying finishing up for the night, all good. But it really turns to crap. There's an SOS button, and that allows you to talk directly to Garmin's SOS emergency,
Oh, right.
and they'll get on to VMR or
Right.
do whatever.
Fantastic,
Get
yeah.
you on a strike.
Yep.
It's the best thing, for.
InReach 2, just
It's
something.
called an InReach 2. It's a little Garmin, it's only
Yep.
small. I've got a little mount on the boat. It'll
Yep.
last for 2 weeks with the one battery charge.
Okay, right.
Charge
Yep.
of
Yep.
your-
Yeah, yeah.
Accessories or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant for the kid.
Yeah, good.
If you're offshore,
Yep.
and you
There's
it's
another.
about $40 a month. It'll give you tracks, and you can
Okay.
send. When I send through to my wife, I'm good. It actually sends a GPS
Yeah.
position
Of where
I
you
am.
are.
Oh, was that right? Oh, wow.
That's free.
Yeah,
It's
wow.
just- There's free
Yeah, okay.
There's free
Yep.
segment.
Fantastic, yeah.
Quite frankly, the instruct.
So you have it on the whole time while you're out there, pretty well.
It just runs all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yep.
I just send this preset message at the end of the day, and
Yeah, yep.
it all turns to custard. I won't be worried about
Yeah.
sends a message or anything.
Yeah. No, very good. Yeah, okay. There is another couple of things too, mate. There's a bag you can get now. I think it's a hydrostatic release type bag. So you have all your safety gear in it, and if the boat goes under or goes whatever, as soon as the water pressure is a certain amount, it just pops up and comes at the top, and everything's in there. If that makes sense. Yeah, it's a few $100 for the bag, but fits all your gear into it. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah.
I don't know.
Customs.
Another bit of kit, you might even sell it, but it's I've got it wired into my ignition because I go out by myself,
Okay.
you
Yep.
know, for a couple of days at a time.
Yep.
So if you're trolling and you lose your boat,
Yep.
once you hit the water, this thing will cut the engine.
Oh, is that right?
It's just like a wristwatch.
Oh, so
Spirals
like a
the attach.
Bluetooth, sort of like a Bluetooth type setup sort of thing.
Bluetooth setup.
Yep.
It's a bit of a, so you,
That's a great idea. Well, we saw what happened the other day.
Off the
That
boat,
guy. Mm.
you get them,
Yeah.
that's just if you go out by
Yeah,
yourself.
and where do they sell those? Mate?
So-
We don't sell them, but you get them at boating shops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
okay.
them in shops,
Yeah, cool.
That's, I think, where I got one of mine, and
Yep.
I had to install it properly.
Yep.
It just sits on the dash with a button,
Yep.
and
The-
at least you're not going to lose your boat if you go over the side by yourself.
Yep.
You just cut the engine and
Yep.
swing back to it.
Yeah, as we were saying, the phones or your radio don't work out past sort of about 60 k's, generally speaking. So you're up the creek a bit. Flares, hopefully the boat sees you. The other thing you do can get, similar to what you're saying, mate, is if you join Starlink. So Starlink, I think it's about $140 a month, and it's like having a sat phone on your mobile. So it works nearly all the time, out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So something like that. Okay, so any questions on anything on the gear tonight, guys? Everyone's good? Okay, so just get quickly the spots real quickly. I would suggest if it's your first time to start at the bunker group, which is off 1770. So 1770, the bar there's a bit tricky sometimes. It can be shallow, it can be nice. It can be flat, it can be big sea. Depending on if it's northeast swell, it's not the best. Southerly swell, not too bad. And easterly swell, not too bad. Anything from the north in it, it's ugly. And if it's quite low, you can't sometimes, it's a bit like Currumbin, you can't get in and out at low tide. It's just too dangerous. Sometimes you've got to run away at north up towards Middle Creek and come down back in that way. Other times you can just go beside the headland and go around. it depends on the day. Turkey Beach, great spot. It sort of comes, so it's Musgrave, Lady Musgrave's at the bottom end of the bunker group, except for Lady Elliot, which is further down, but Musgrave is more or less out from 1770. Then you got Turkey Beach is halfway between sort of 1770 and Gladstone, and that one goes straight across to sort of Fitzroy. And it's a great place, but it's not a good boat ramp at low tide because it's quite muddy and quite hard to get out. Once you're out a little bit, you're right, but halfway into high tide is perfect. Good spot. It's about a 60k run across to Fitzroy from there, I think. And then Gladstone is, or South End, bottom end there, Tatham Sands area, is quite good. And there you're heading across the Sykes sort of area or Masthead. Then you got the Keppel group. North side of the Keppel's better fishing, I believe, north side of Keppel. You got about a 60 to 80k run to go out. And you're fishing not really so much exposed reef, it's just deep reef. If that makes sense, 60 metres, whatever. And you've got to go further to get exposed reef, a lot further. And then it's a bit of a logistic nightmare to tow your boat up to early, but it is by far the pick of the spot, I believe. I'd love to retire there actually. It's a great spot because you can fish all the local islands and get good fishing once you know how to fish it quite well. They get nannies and they get reds and they get heaps of coral trout and big trout around the local islands. Saying local islands, like out to around where the nice beaches there, or yeah, sort of furthest out island on opposite Hamo, you're looking at around about 40 k's from the boat ramp, so it's still a fair way out to the outside edge. But then the barrier reef starts about another 60k out from there. So that's like the local bunch of islands, which is, I don't know how many islands there are, 80 or something islands. There's lots. So no matter which way the wind's blowing, you can get out of the wind because the islands are bloody 300 metres high. So they're like mountains. So it's very nice. And a lot of pressure points, a lot of good areas to fish for GTs and all types of fishing. So if you want to do an island holiday and keep the wife happy because it's so beautiful, and also catch a lot of fish early morning before you go pick her back up after she wakes up, that would be the spot to go. And it's quite calm there too. It gets a bit choppy, but again, you get out of the leeward side of the islands, it's nice. And we did a trip up there we've done 2-3 trips up there now, I think the last 3 years, and each time done really well. And then if you want to fish out from the reef from there, you can base yourself around the islands and do a scoot out to the reef, which is about 60k out. The best area we found was around Ross Reef and Black Reef. I think it's now called Bent Reef because Black was deformation. So they changed the name of the reef. And around that area is a really good area. We've caught, when no one showed us where to go, we just went and found our own spots, used a sounder, did the normal look for the bottom, went up to the reef edge, worked our way back from it, and just so many fish. I mean, like crazy amounts of nanoguyes and everything. I think one day there we got 300 kilos of fish. With that trip, we only had 2 days out of 10 to fish, so we did well, and we bagged out. Yeah, got our limits. Then from further up from there, Bowen is fishing the northern side of sort of the Airlie Beach area. It's more or less just the other side of it. And Dingo Beach is in between, and Hideaway and those sort of places. They're really nice fishing out from there as well. Got islands as well. And then if you want to go out to further north, I'd probably definitely do around Carramine Beach or Tully, or maybe Mission Beach. The reef's a bit close up there. It's only about 30 k's out, and everyone there has a. If you go to Carramine Beach, everyone has a tractor, about a 4.5, 5 metre tinny, which they go on a good day. They go out to the reef, 30 k's out, and they've got about a 7 metre plate boat. That's the golden rule for every house there. So there are always people out there fishing. They just launch on the beach and off they go, and it is paradise and really good fishing, and beautiful. And all of what we just talked about tonight, if you use that same scenario in all those areas, you'll catch fish. Yeah, that's how we do it. Yeah. Anyhow, good luck on it. Go get them. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Stu. Cheers, mate. Okay, we'll do the draw. Ready for it. So Misako's got it over here. So tonight, guys, Because it's Christmas, we went a bit higher. So I think it's around about 16 or 1700 bucks for the gear. 7 prizes. First one's well over 500, and it's going to go to whoever we pull out of this box here. Stu, you're up, mate.
Yes, and we've got to thank Wilson as well. They put
Yeah.
up a bit for the
Sorry.
prizes today, so
Yep.
we appreciate that.
Yeah, so Venom, as we said, we've got deals of Venom rods and Venom stick bait. So I think the stick bait, you buy 2 stick bait, Venom stick bait or popper, whichever, doesn't matter, you get a third one free. Okay. To the same value.
Yep.
Yep.
Number